What is going on, golf fans? It's your boy Gsluke here with our round 3 live stream for the Canadian Open. Going to break down what you need to know for props and for DFS tomorrow to go out there and have yet another profitable day. Days 1 and 2 weren't smash days by any means. They were slight profits both from the showdown and the prop side, but still grinding out ROI and still have more in our bankroll after today than when we started, which is always a huge plus when you're out here playing fantasy. So I would say it was a successful day. We're heading into the weekend. Vibes are high. So first off, welcome to the chat, everybody. I'd say little roll call down in chat. If you're here, go ahead, poke a little comment down in chat. Don't be shy, and let's get after it, right? We've got ourselves 2 more days of opportunity to go out there and potentially take home a GPP, maybe get some 4 or 5 leg cards for the prop side. That's what it's all about. So welcome on in. We got Tanner down there, Big Colts, who, by the way, if you're trying to get in the Discord, shoot me a message on Patreon and I'll get you hooked up. What's going on, Mark? We got bro, you joined the Patreon last week and I've been on fire. Yeah, man, it's been a solid year at this point. Really, I started to take props more seriously. I started to really refine my research process, and yeah, we've been on a heater. So glad to have you on there and glad to be on a heater myself, right? It helps with the bankroll pretty much any time. What's going on, Bruce? Welcome to the chat. We've got a little Crown and Coke in the cup. It's a Friday evening. You probably could have guessed that. So let's have some fun with this stream. So we're going to start with a look at the golf course. Like I said, if you got to get in the Discord, just join the Patreon. Hit me up on there. I'll be able to hook you guys up. I saw your comment there out of the corner of my eye. But when we're taking a look at this course, trying to handicap it, a huge thing happened, right? You got a bunch of rain this morning, which is not only going to have an impact on what we saw today or already had that impact, but is going to have an impact for the rest of this event. We had a solid 3-4 hours of rain, and it was a lot more significant rain than I think most forecasts were calling for. There was a solid half an hour to an hour stretch where it wasn't like a torrential downpour, but it was pretty damn close to it. You weren't getting puddles on the greens, which I think speaks to how well manicured this course is. So, hats off to the maintenance crew out there, but it's going to be soft, not only for tomorrow morning, but I'd imagine well into the afternoon hours too. So I expect scores to be even better than what you saw today. And if we go over here and split it by the wave like we have, you can see that it was about 0.75 shots easier in the afternoon, a little bit less than that. In terms of your scoring edge. So expect to see conditions in the morning probably a little bit better than the afternoon, which is almost always the case on tour, which is kind of the opposite of what we saw today, right? It was an artificial situation because playing during the rain, right, is a lot harder than playing after the rain. The guys in the afternoon had next to no wind for most of their round. There was a little bit of, I would say, slight winds that came through late, right? You had a few gusty conditions that happened towards like 5-6 p.m., but it didn't impact scoring all that much, right? It still played nearly a half a stroke under par. And given the receptive nature of the greens tomorrow morning, similar low wind conditions, you're probably going to see the same thing, if not better, right? It's moving day. The PGA Tour likes to set it up a little bit easier for moving day than what you see for, especially compared to Sunday, right? But even compared to the first 2 rounds. So that's going to affect our modeling a little bit, right? It's going to increase our projections on average when it comes to the players in the field, but especially when we're looking at props, we're going to have to consider that, right? It's a different course than what we saw for round 1. If anything, I think the best comp is what we saw this afternoon. So keep that in mind. If you weren't watching the coverage, or even if you were only watching the main broadcast, you may have not seen all of that weather, all of that rain that came through. It's going to make a huge impact on this course. Enjoying the last few days in Florida before moving out west? Absolutely. Yeah. I'm leaving there Tuesday morning, so it's going to be a whole trek. Tuesday will be my travel day. Won't have much time to get stuff done. But Wednesday through Sunday, it's going to be an absolute banger out there. When will they announce tee times? I imagine sometime soon. In fact, we can check up on it. I have the PGA Tour comms up. They'll tweet it out, but I'm assuming it's going to be 2 sums off of the first tee. If they're going to do anything wacky, there are 75 players that made the cut, which is towards the higher end of the spectrum, I have to say. So it gets a little bit sketchy there. They might send them off 3 sums off the first tee. They've done that a few times. That'll speed up play a little bit. We'll have to see. But yeah, I'm eagerly awaiting that, but also awaiting the pin locations, the tee sheet. So someone let me know down in chat if we get either of those. That would be super clutch. Other than that, I'm glad and we went after some of these PM performers, right? Terrell Hatton, of course, was one of my core plays for today. So that was huge when it came to playing Showdown. A lot of these PM players ended up coming through, right? Like Rory McIlroy, I didn't play, but he was a PM wave player. CT Pan was PM wave. There were some AM guys mixed in, right? Carl Wan over here, Yechon Wan, depending on where you're getting your projections from. They're at -5. Ted Potter Jr., Nick Taylor were PM wave players, but you had guys like Novak, AM. I know Hadwin was AM. Also, Lashley was an AM wave golfer. So it was a good mix. And that's exactly what we went after, right? We had a good mix of AM and PM players in our player pool, which ended up working out. Now, if I knew there was going to be a 0.7 shot difference, I might have more heavily targeted the PM wave. But given the fact that some of those AM guys still got to the top of the board, I don't feel all that bad about it, especially because a lot of those guys that we took ended up coming through, right? Like a Lee Hodges, for example, was another player that we took that ended up coming through early. So it was a successful day. We had about 2.2x when it came to Showdown, so a little bit better than a double up. No takedown, but you'll take it, right? We'll take the grinded out attitude, right? Even over there for props today, it was just like a couple units on either side. Nothing crazy, but we'll take it. In terms of the Saturday forecast, trying to find an edge for DFS, it's looking kind of flat wind-wise, depending on what wind model you're looking at. Some of them are calling for slightly higher wind gusts in the morning than the afternoon, but I think the important thing to note is that the greens will be receptive all day. I think scoring conditions are going to be at a premium for pretty much no matter when you're teeing off, right? If you're one of the first guys teeing off, you hardly made the cut, your game's kind of sketchy, you're going to have real receptive greens early, pristine greens. If you're one of the players in form, right, that's towards the top of the board after the first 2 days, well, you're still going to have, I think, dart-like targets out there. And then what looks like the better wind edge, right? At least per the NAM and the HRRR model, there's a clear advantage to the guys going off early. Let's take a look at this one. Not so much for the ECM. Let's see, GFS looks a little bit more flat, so maybe not so much. So it's not a complete, agreement here, right? You don't have a complete, I don't know the word I'm looking for here. It's on the tip of my tongue. We don't have, someone's going to say it down in chat. It's an obvious word. Either way, they don't all agree, right? So don't take this, as gospel. Track this weather. If you have access to the Windy app, make sure you just put in Oakdale Golf and Country Club. Make sure it's the one in Toronto. I say right around like 9:30, 10 p.m., they're going to go out there and update these projections. So usually when I'm entering round 3 props, I wait until that last weather drop comes through before I go out there and fire on most of my exposure. So at this point, I would play it pretty straight up, right? I'll still enter a few slips at this point, but I don't think it's going to be a huge wave that I'm targeting, right? The guys in the PM, they might have slightly worse conditions, but they're also the guys that are playing well. So it almost makes up for that right there. If you're playing a DFS edge, right, try and take some of the flyers early, the guys that have nothing to lose, right, on top of having the weather edge, maybe, because here's my worry with the guys going off super early. So it's like 57 degrees there early. Let's see. Let me move this one over here. What's it say on the HRRR? Ooh, did that wrong. The HRRR right here. Yeah, it has it at like 51 degrees early, 56 degrees when they're actually teeing off. Like, that doesn't seem ideal, right? And they have this like 20-mile-an-hour wind gust hour right there. I mean, even this like 15 to 18 stuff isn't ideal when it comes to the wind gusts. You might want to wait to take guys that are playing maybe like it tilt warms up, right? Maybe when it gets to like 70 degrees, you start playing guys. So that's like 9 a.m. It looks like they might be in slightly gustier conditions, but not all of these models agree, right? This NAM model here isn't nearly as, it's not calling for nearly as severe conditions there in the morning hours. And then if you go over here to like the ECM and whatnot, it's the other way around, right? The PM has the higher wind. So if you're going to take any edge at all, or at least what I'm doing for tomorrow, is I'm mostly taking guys that are just teeing off when it's warm out, right? The winds, they're kind of a toss-up when it comes to their projections. All of them are calling for it to warm up right around like 9:30, 10 a.m. So that's the edge that I'm going to play, if any edge, because there are still guys at the top of the board that I'll be playing, and still guys as chasers that I'm taking. Right, kind of what I was talking about there before, I don't think I hammered it home enough, though, is that those chasers, right, don't have anything to lose. they have much more incentive to go after 5-6 birdie performances than, let's say, the guys at 8-9 under par, right? That are in position, that have to protect their score at least a little bit out there. Players like Cam Young, Sahith Theegala at -1 have next to nothing to lose, right? So they're always on my radar for a round 3 showdown. Pivots in round 3 are almost always on my radar for round 3 showdown. So not much of a surprise there. Players I'm avoiding, super chalk up top. That'd be like a Rory, a Tyrrell Hatton, and a Justin Rose. And all 3 of them could be ticking time bombs, right? But if I'm going to try and make a stand, right, and it's going to be a really bold one here, right, it's fading the top 3 players. That's my choice for tomorrow. That doesn't have to be how you play your player pool, right? In fact, I implore you to play these 3 players, right? I want them to be as highly owned as humanly possible, but I'm taking a stand against it, right? I'm being much more balanced with my pool. There's not as many 6K golfers that I like here for Saturday Showdown. So I'm axing off the top of the board, starting with guys like a Fitz, maybe even starting with guys like a Shane Lowry or a Cam Young, and leaving salary on the table in a few instances. In fact, I'm building 150 lineups for tomorrow, which are going to be mostly entered into the main GPP. And because I see an edge out here, the edge to me is clear, right? Fade these top 3 players, the guys that have a lot to lose. It's a difficult golf course. This track can be got, particularly if you're in the fairway, right? That's, I'd say, the main prerequisite. But on top of that, if you're willing to be aggressive, right? If you go after pins with how receptive it is out there, you could shoot 8 under par, like Tyrrell Hatton did today, right? That's completely possible. It's also possible to shoot over par, or just like even or 1 under, because you're making 4 or 5 bogeys on the day. So these guys up top, I think, are a little bit more prone to choking, right? That's the narrative that I'm going with. It's hard to back up a good round. That's a fact, right? So, like I said, you can play them if you'd like to, right? They're all getting a bunch of ownership, though, and that's just the edge that I'm choosing to explore there. A Cam Young, a Sahith Theegala, they're teeing off when it's going to be relatively cold, which I don't love, but it's not the end-all, be-all for me, right? That weather edge that we're seeing, right? These are still top-end players. Sahith Theegala, Cameron Young, also more than long enough off the tee to make up for that. So I don't worry about it as much as like the slapdicks, like in the 6-7K range, right? That might be teeing off early morning, right? These guys can probably make up for that 10, 15 yards that they're losing. And then they get extra soft greens, right? It's going to be extra pristine when it comes to the greens out there as well. I like that. So there's a few exceptions, right? Anytime you have a weather edge, we just remind you guys, don't take it as the gospel. There's always going to be exceptions to the rule, right? It's much more about tiebreakers. If you're running projections, if you're adjusting for it like I do, right? Maybe it's like a 1-2 point edge. You're not talking about massive swings that are going to impact a ton with your player pool. So just keep that in mind. Let's see what's going on in chat. We've got, you found 2 bogey props in Underdog you love already. It surprises me they already have bogey props up. Hats off to them. You can see me had another profitable day. We'll take it. Shit, I took 10K out of here just a few weeks ago when it came to golf. And now we're almost up to 10K again. And normally when I do so, I take out at least like 7K. I'll leave a couple thousand on the bet with. But we're already racking it up again. Look at that. So there's some guys at 2.5. So you might be looking at those. Okay. I have to say the strokes props are lower than I may have expected. And I was kind of hoping that they might post guys at like 71, 71.5. Didn't get my wish, right? We would have hammered unders there, right? I think it's going to play relatively easy tomorrow, especially the guys teeing off in the latter half of the day. So that's slightly disappointing, but we definitely have a lot of time to get to those props later on. But interesting to look at nonetheless. Connors and Hadman unders on bogey. So you're seeing unders, what are they at, like 3.5 or something? I'll take a peek for you. 2.5 bogeys for Connors. Yeah, I couldn't take an under on those. And then 3 for Hadman. Yeah, I don't know if I'm a massive fan of those. There's still going to be bogeys out there, right? It's going to be a dartboard out there, but the rough is still 4 to 6 inches long. And now that it's gone a little bit more rain, it's just going to continue to grow. So I kind of worry about unders on bogey props. I'd probably be taking a bunch of overs. So I might be careful there, boss. Hey, but I'm not going to tell you how to play. Let's go through some of this strategy here. So on top of just fading some of these top-end players, I'm trying to hammer guys in the 7K range that are pivots that have upside, right? Some of them are starting early, right? And Akshay and Michael Kim are also players that are teeing off in like the first hour, hour and a half of tee times, which isn't ideal, but I'm still willing to take guys there. What I love are guys like Will Gordon at -2, Still playing guys that are kind of chalky, like an SH Kim Lee Hodges, because I do think the afternoon conditions are still decent, right? You're going to have to play some guys towards the middle of the top of the board, just hopefully guys that aren't too chalky. And luckily, Lee Hodges still only 11%. Akshay Bhatia, right? I have 13% owned. It's after the cut, right? There's less players to choose from. 13% isn't nearly as bad as that would be for a main slate contest. So I don't worry about that one all that much. I love Brandon Wu. I love the fact that I only have him at 9.8%. I love Harry Hall. Same thing, only at 10.1% right there. Both of them teeing off in pretty much the perfect conditions there at -4. We have Garrick Higo, pretty much perfect conditions. Same thing with Dylan Wu at -3. Dylan Wu, right, getting some steam, but still only 12%, right? And we got to remember, this is after the cut, right? So 12% isn't a main slate 12% ownership, right? It has to be adjusted for that. I don't hate that. Carson Young, same thing. CT Pan's getting some ownership. I'm maybe not as sold on him as the other guys, right? It's hard to back up a low round, and he went super low today. I believe shot -6. I do like Sam Bennett. The kid's a young stud. Played particularly well there on Thursday. Ches Reavie at -1. Really good course fit. Going off earlier than I would like, but hopefully he can overcome that, right? There's going to be exceptions to the rule. There's going to be super late guys that play well. There's going to be guys going off maybe the first tee time that end up having a nuts performance tomorrow. So don't marry yourself to players just because of that. You have Austin Smotherman. He has those super ceiling rounds. Down low, we're just looking for upside, right? We're not going to go through the whole poll, right? That's why I went through that relatively quickly. But for me, it's about guys towards the middle of tee times, right? There's a few early guys that I'm mixing in, and then pivots. It's a volatile format, right? Anytime you have round 3 showdown, you're talking about the most volatile of volatile formats. I mean, NASCAR DFS, right? I know it's pretty crazy. A lot of volatility there. MMA DFS, right? It's fighting, right? Of course, there's quite a bit of variance there. But golf, single round showdown trumps all of them. So you have to embrace that. If somebody's going to be twice the ownership of somebody else, let's see, like Rory McIlroy, you can see I have it 30%. Fitzy, I have it 18%. And in single entry contests, it's going to be even more so the case. It'll be even more exaggerated there. You're going to have to take the guy that's half his owned. It's just such a random event, showdown. It's very hard to predict. So it's almost always plus EV to take the guys that are coming in at half ownership, particularly when they're cheaper. And Matty Fitz is making a bunch of birdies to this point. Just to make a few cases for my top end players, Matty Fitz, braces and all. I know he's a nerd out there, right? Pisses people off. But he's hitting darts. He's maybe not putting the best. He's still making a few putts. That's why he's putting up that birdie production. If he has a good day off the tee, just can keep himself in the short stuff, he has -6, -7 written all over him. So I like the -4. That's like the perfect tee time zone for tomorrow, and only 18.1% owned. So we'll make a few cases for a few other players here too. And if you have any questions about specific players, feel free to go ahead and toss those down in chat as well. You have Shane Lowry. He was perfect today outside of like 2 boo-boos. He had a little double bogey, I believe it was hole 10, which was one of the easier holes on property. Had another bogey after that. That was a little bit sloppy, but made 5 birdies on the day. The ball striking was there. He missed 3 putts from less than 6 feet for birdie. So it could have been, I believe, 8 or even 9 birdies on the day. That were more than realistic for Shane Lowry to make. And the putter can be inconsistent, right? That was the issue in round 1, right? The ball striking was there. Ball striking was there today as well. That's why there's so much hope, so much optimism behind good old Shane Lowry's game. But at $9,300, I'm going back to it, right? He has that same upside. He still hasn't spiked that hot putting performance. And when he does, instead of shooting like -3, like he did today, it's going to be like -6, -7. And on moving day, that kind of performance is more than possible. So I'll definitely be getting there for sure, especially because he's so cheap. He's $9,300. Like, it's so easy to use him as a second man in. Like I said, I'm going to have lineups that start with Shane Lowry. I'm just leaving a bunch of salary on the table in my lineups because I have no problems with some of these 7K options. I mean, like Brandon Wu, Harry Hall, I love. Like, if they're my last man in, which they are in a lot of my lineups, based on how soft the pricing is up top, based on how much I'm skipping up here in the 10K range, it's like I'm building lineups without a salary cap. I don't know. I don't do it very often, but it's one of the slates where I'm kind of willing to do that. Going down there and throwing plugs for me. I appreciate it, Matt. Matt says, for anyone on the fence, smash a like button, join the Patreon, and join the Cord. A price is worth admission. Yeah, shameless plug here, right? If you want access to all the Patreon stuff, whether it's props or DFS, check out the link down below. Today, we made money on both prop sites once again. We did so for Thursday. Last week, I believe it was all 4 days were profit for us. It's not always going to be 100% profit, but it's been like that for like the last few weeks. So if you want to hop on the heater, feel free to hop in there. I do my videos for round one. This week, it was a sweep for I think both sites ended up sweeping for my preview this week. If you want more picks like that, we're going to go over a few here in the stream. Check that out. It's the best place. It's $10 a month. So shameless plug aside, right? Don't want to spend too much time on that. I'm not the type to do so, but I have to at some point, right? It is what I do for a living, so I got to talk about it at some point. I appreciate you for reminding me, Matt. In terms of other plays I want to sell you on, right? Guys that I'm playing, right? Cameron Young, going off early at -1. Let's throw Sahith Theegala in here at the same time. Both are getting some ownership, so don't think you're getting like some 10% owned play here, right? Cam Young, Sahith Theegala, I have both approaching 20% ownership. The reason for that, the secret's out, right? People know that you can play the early guys and get some sort of an edge, right? Whether it's weather-wise or whether it's psychology-wise, them going out there being a little bit more aggressive. So you're going to have to start to pay the ownership tax. It's kind of like what we talked about when there's weather edges out there. We can review streams, right? We've pointed it out multiple times where the guys in the quote-unquote good wave are, 5, sometimes even 6% higher owned than they would be otherwise. Well, Cam Young, Sahith Theegala are getting that same kind of bump here for going off early. So I still like them. I'm still playing them, but just know that if you're taking them, they're not going to be leverage plays for you. In fact, of guys in my player pool, they're towards the higher end of the spectrum when it comes to ownership. Still like them though. Matt Kuchar, much more of a pivot. I have it just 13.7%. He's been very mediocre to this point. Not really attractive when it comes to the shots gained. In fact, let me give you some numbers when it comes to his shots gained total to this point. Mostly the shots gained approach is what I want to look at, but let me bring him up real quick. Got him over here on the PGA site. So for today, he lost on approach and off the tee and gained putting, right? Not ideal. So I'm not taking too much Matt Kuchar. He's more of like a GPP large tournament sort of play, but he's got low ownership. And of the guys up top, Lowry's got decently low ownership, right? Kuchar's got low ownership, and then that's about it, right? Everyone else is like 18 or like 25% plus owned, right? Which is kind of nice, right? It's a little bit more flat than it's going to be for Sunday, right? Sunday Showdown, it gets much more polarized up top, right? We're going to have guys that are nearly 40% owned when it comes to Sunday Showdown, but for now, it's pretty spread out, which is kind of nice. You can just take your guys and move on. Luckily for me, most of the guys I'm playing aren't guys that are mega chalk. Let's see. In this 8K range, I love Eric Cole. Kind of spun his wheels today, but he's just more talented than the guys around him. Also, it's like a perfect course for him. Michael Kim, also a great course fit too. I like getting to him, right? He's got to be aggressive. Same thing with Akshay. Akshay was top, not even was, he is, as is, a top 22 player on tour when it comes to birdie or better percentage. So, for Showdown, where it's so correlated to just how many birdies you can make in a single round, Akshay Bhatia is always going to be on my radar. So that's why I'm getting there. In this 7K range, I want to point out Woo. I really think he's a good play. I don't know. I don't want to steam up his ownership too much, but I really like him. I really like Garrett Higo too. Those would be my top two options down here in the 7K range. And when I'm going down here and I'm taking guys like a Smotherman, if I'm playing like MJ Daffy in a lineup, you probably saw him down there in my player pool there before too. I'm leaving a bunch of salary on the table, right? Because I'm starting with Matty Fitz, it's not like I'm taking these guys to fit in an extra stud. If I can, great, right? I'll take the extra stud when possible. But there are lineups where I am going to be leaving upwards of $500 to maybe even $1,000 on the table. Usually in Showdown, that's not the case. Usually I leave maybe $300 to maybe $500 at max on the table. But just given the types of players I like and the leverage I'm looking to get, that's what I'm looking at with my first few builds that I was going through. Let's see if there's any questions down below. If not, we're going to go through some lineup construction stuff and then some props. Doesn't look like we have questions right now. If you do have specific player questions, the time is now for those. But let's go through some lineup construction stuff. In terms of cash, round 3 showdown, there's never any must plays. But if there's going to be a weather edge to be had, I think you want to take that. So maybe you avoid the Cam Youngs, the Sahith, the Galas of the world. The only reason I say that is they're more volatile, right? Because they're not going to be in the perfect conditions. They've got to have a much better day to get to that ceiling performance. So I kind of prefer guys like, let's say like a Matty Fitz, right? Who I guess finished at -3. I had -4 on there. It says -3 here now. DraftKings. I imported the projections right at like 6:15. So may have changed after that. Poor Matty Fitz lost a stroke there. Let's put Shane Lowry in there too. Let's throw Aberg in. I like when he's teeing off, right? Like these guys at -3 are pretty much what I'm looking for. So it's fine. Let's throw Brandon Wu in there, right? I love him for tomorrow. So if I was starting a cash lineup, these 4 would probably be my first clicks. They're all players that fit this golf course, right? I think the European narrative is something that you can go off of. That fits the top 3. Brandon Wu's just a talented player at $7,500. You don't have to overthink it, right? Just take the guys that you think you're playing in the best conditions. If you want to throw some chalky guys in there, you can. Let's say you really want to spend the salary for Rory, right? Like that's fine in cash. If you want to play Corey Connors, he's a very consistent player. I like him for a cash lineup even. You could take them both together if you wanted to in a cash lineup. Up top, there's a lot of freedom with who you can take. I would just say avoid the guys that obviously missed the cut, right? So don't take Sam Burns, right? He'll obviously get thrown out of there later on when they update this. But make sure you're also taking guys that have some sort of incentive to keep together, right? When you're playing cash, you don't want the guy shooting +5, +6. Like a Cam Young or Thagala might throw up if they don't have their best stuff. You at least want a respectable performance so that you can finish in the top half. So that is worth considering. Always forget to drink my drink on here, so we'll do so. All right, let's go through some GPP stuff. So in terms of large field GPP, our mindset's a lot different, right? We're not worried about the top half. We're not playing like complete pussies out there, just trying to double up our money. By the way, that's why I don't play cash lineups. They're just not, they don't get me excited, right? Like props like are where I'm trying to play the numbers, right? Where I'm trying to like triple, maybe 5x my money out there. I'm going after some top end prizes, right? I'm going full degen about it when it comes to some of these DFS contests. So when you're playing in a, GPP kind of format, right? That's why I like starting with maybe a Fitz and making your second man in perhaps a Sahith Theegala. Let's see, in this 8K range, throwing like an Eric Cole and then leaving some salary, right? That's what I want to show you guys here is potentially just going out here, taking a few punts down here and not worrying about not spending all your salary, right? Now, I can't give you guys a whole lineup, so that was just a misclick there. But if you wanted to take somebody down in like the $6,900, $6,800 range even, that's fine, right? Leave the $1,100 on the table. That's a way to get different. That's what I'm choosing to do. You don't have to do that tomorrow. You can still spend all your salary and get different, right? If you wanted to go up here and even take, let's say like Pendrith is getting a little bit of attention, right? He's not chalk though at $7,800. You can still take them and round off this kind of lineup. You have plenty of pivots in here. Theegala is getting some ownership. Same thing with Fitz, but they're not mega chalk up top. And like Carson Young, let's say if you took Pendrith, right? He's like a sub 10% owned player. You could probably get away with that in a GPP. Now, it wouldn't be ideal. I'd rather have like one guy that's like sub 3% owned, but it's not the worst lineup that I could have seen either. But what I like to do is even if I want to take like a chalky guy down here, like if I wanted to take, let's say there was a piece of hypothetical chalk at like $7,000 and throw him into this lineup, like that'd be fine, right? Because I'm leaving the $800 or $900 on the table there, I'm instantly differentiating myself and giving myself a little bit of leverage from the lineup construction perspective too. So GPPs, I'm being a little bit wild for tomorrow. I'm also playing 150 lineups. I actually have to add some balance in here to go ahead and enter lineups. It's going to, because I'm max entering this GPP, by the way, the 125K pitch and putt. The lineup, I should say the payout structure isn't ideal. It's not horrible though, which is why I'm willing to go out there and play it. And I think, I don't know, I think I can bing it tomorrow. So we're going for it. I don't normally play a whole set of 150 in here. Normally it's closer to like 20, 30 lineups. If sometimes, I'll go over there to like the $18 GPP, enter a few lineups in there. It's not usually that. So hopefully it goes well. Are tee times or groupings out? Good question. Let's check up on it. Hopefully, they should have by now. And cheers to the PGA Tour communication staff for still not having anything posted. Hope they're having fun this weekend. Maybe they're out taking shots right now, and that's why they're not up yet. But, not posted yet. If you're in a single entry, and let's say you want to be a little bit more chalky, these top 3 players are much more in play for me. And now I'm not going with any single entries tomorrow. If I end up playing single entries, I think the one guy up top I'd probably play the most might be a Justin Rose. He looks like he's primed to have one of those super low rounds. He's playing intelligently. You can tell the ball striking's there, right? He's been very consistent for the last few months. And the more and more I watch his game, the more and more I think he's close to breaking out for a win. And without having his best stuff, he's T11 right now. So if you want to go with anyone up top, like if I was in a single entry, I might take Justin Rose, but the strategy is very similar to a GPP, right? You're still trying to get some sort of leverage to the field. It's just that you're much less worried about differentiation, right? In terms of duplicating with other people. And then your leverage is much easier to come by, right? If you're only playing against like 100 or a couple hundred people, right? You only have to beat those couple hundred people. Much easier to do than trying to beat these 7,000 other entries. Let's go over to the prop side now. Let's see. Did Prize Picks post anything yet? No, right? They haven't. That's okay. They posted Euro stuff. Interesting. Yannick Palt 71. Okay. I saw a few people down in my Discord posting some Euro stuff earlier, so I might have to snoop by there in a little bit. But let's take a look at this prop board, see what we're working with. If you guys have any questions for DFS, you can still fire them down in the chat. But let's try and focus on some of the prop stuff now for the most part. If you have any questions for DFS, get them in right now. But yeah, let's get into these props now. So I was hoping we'd get some sort of pin sheet out. That would have been ideal, right? To be able to go through that and whatnot. But anytime we have moving day, usually they make these pins very accessible, right? They put them in bowls. There are a lot of bowl locations available around this track, and I imagine that they're going to take advantage of at least a few of them. So I kind of agree, I have to say, right, with the stroke projections here being a little bit lower than we've seen the first few days. And the birdie projections being at 4.5 probably makes sense too. So we're going to have to be smart with the overs we take, right? We want guys that are teeing off in optimal conditions. If we're going to take overs for birdies or better, that would be guys teeing off, I'd say, after 9 a.m. And there's a lot of options. We're going to have to go through the shots gained. We're going to have to make sure that guys are hitting the ball well. I'd say that'd be the most important thing at this point. And yeah, there's going to be overs to be had. Like Terrell had made like 10 birdies today. I mean, goodness sakes, that was pretty sick. Rory came through for us for over 4.5 birdies for one of the slips that we took here. If you're going to take any supportive stance, I think, especially because these lines for strokes are lower, it's all about birdies or better. There are doubles out there. Even like a guy like Sam Burns, he was -4 at one point today. I had his under 71 strokes. I could have sworn it was a shoe-in out there. He doubled, and then he bogeyed the next hole and ended up pushing by the end of the round. Ended up missing like 2 easy birdies towards the end too. That would have gone out there and hit. That one stung today, not going to lie. But that's why you don't take strokes. That's why, at least in my opinion, for your sanity and honestly probably for your ROI and bankroll too, if you're going to take an under on strokes, I would heavily consider maybe taking the over on birdies instead. So just consider it. You don't have to do it just because I said that, but at least look into it, right? Look at the birdie rates, compare your projection to what they have on the board, and consider going that direction. In terms of the bogey average, day one, it was close to 3.5. I have to imagine today it was lower. So the fact they have some of these guys at 3.5 bogeys, like honestly, under 3.5 is probably one of the better props on the board. In fact, Sahith Theegala is not one of the bigger bogey makers on the PGA Tour. So if I had to pick a favorite prop on the board right now, it would be the Sahith under. If anyone has any other thoughts or any other quote unquote locks that they have down there in chat, I'm willing to hear it too, because I see a lot of like 50-50s here. I think the best props I see might be those overs on birdies that I was talking about, right? This 5 for Rory is like a no-go. I'm not going to take his over at 5, but like maybe you go back to Hen, right? The guy with the hot putter today. Shane Lowry, right? Still made a bunch of birdies today despite not having a putter. So maybe that's not the worst look out there. But I wish we had another guy at 3.5 bogeys. Like it's still a course where you make bogeys at it, but Sahith Theegala is no slapdick. He's not going to be worse than your tour average. Yeah, so you're on the same thing as me there, CB, right? I think that might be a sign to lock it in. Yeah, we're gonna do it. Right? He got there. I'm pretty sure. Let's confirm this. I'm pretty sure he got there today, and almost he 100% did. He got there today without having his putter. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 today without having his putter. Yeah. Let's hope he catches a putter tomorrow, right? Let's not count on him going out there and getting it done without that. But yeah, Sahith under 3.5 bogeys seems like a wagon to me. Like, I know he's probably gone over the first 2 days, but he's a world-class player, and that's like the average for this field. In fact, let's double check on it, right? Where's good old Sahith at? Don't love the tee time, right? But what? He made 1, 2, 3 today? No, he wouldn't have gone under. And then day 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, so day 1 he would have covered, but today, even despite not having his best stuff, still would have gone under. So I like that. Like, I know the bogey average was lower today. It was 3.49 in day 1, so let's assume lower is probably like 3.3. Somebody like Sahith projects closer to like 2.8, 2.9, and if memory serves me well, Sahith is like top 30 on tour in bogey avoidance. I'm double checking it right now. Let me share my screen for y'all. And a lot of it is because of his putter. Oh, maybe not. 99. Okay, maybe he fell off. I knew he was higher before. I was doing research on his bogey stuff before, but 99 on tour, not great. So I don't know. I still like it, though. He's still better than the field average here, right? And if the field average was 3.5 the first day, I know it was better today. He's still projecting under that. So, yeah, it's still good prop. I thought he was like number 20 on tour, though. I know he was at one point when I was doing this research. Obviously, a lot can change as the season goes on. Let's take a look. So outside of that, there's more value here to be had. I mean, I don't hate like 2.5 over for bogeys, but I need it to be a player that first off is kind of sorry. And it looks like all the guys on here are pretty good players except for Hadman, and Hadman's at 3 bogeys. And I need them to be out of ball striking form, right? I need them to be maybe off on approach or something. And I'm not seeing it with the players that we have available. They're all hitting the ball pretty well, especially the guys at 2.5 bogeys. Like maybe Cam Young. Like if you're going to go out there and you want to play a fade card, right? The fade that stands out the most to me right now must probably be a Cam Young. They haven't posted them yet. Yeah, unfortunate. They're based on leaderboard position. Yeah, so the main determination though, T-Rez, that might shake things up is if they send them off of both tees. So sometimes when there's a bunch of people that made the cut, or sometimes when there's going to be some sort of like weather delay or the potential for a weather delay, they'll split them up and send them off of 1 and 10. That can throw off like our quote unquote weather edge, right? Because obviously they're teeing off at different times, but I wouldn't expect that. And we'll double check on that again. That's an important note. If they do that, it's going to throw off my process a little bit. But they haven't posted anything. Annoying. Kind of slapdick of them, but is what it is. Let's see, any questions down in chat? Do I have any thoughts on the Euro, guys? Line seeing high no prize picks. Yeah, I was seeing that down in my Discord. People were posting weather forecasts, and they looked pretty good. And the strokes are higher than they were the first 3 days. It's a real short course. Let me look at my Discord. I trust these guys when it comes to golf props, right? And especially the ones that I know are doing things. You're in the ER right now. Have a good stream. Oh, shit. Okay, Harley, if you're watching this, hopefully you're doing well. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, the weather looks good. I'm looking at it right now. It looks like pretty much no wind. It's in miles per hour, which is fantastic. Shout out to Martin for that. In fact, I'll show you guys the forecast. Maybe we can look at some Euro stuff in here. I don't mind it, particularly because I think there might be an edge here, right? So Martin posted this down there. This is at Oldna Golf Club. This is in Sweden. Got the Swedish up top. It's like a Swedish town. Next to no wind across most of the forecast, right? For most of the day. So I like that. That's good to see. And then the golf, those are props that I guess Martin was taking. But the props for the first few days were at like 69 strokes. In fact, I hit props over an Underdog at like 69 strokes for unders, and now they're at 71.5. They're going to make me fuck around on here, huh? Prize Picks has Yannick at a better number, though. So if we're going to take Yannick, you would take him here. 71.5, 72. Do they have anything different? What is Pepperell over here? He's at 72 still. Jazz? What is Jazz at? Jazz is at 71.5. So I guess if you wanted to take this, like you could. Let's bring up the European Tour site so I can share it for you guys. I need to know how Jazz is playing. Jazz is a very streaky player. Minus 17 is winning. Holy shit. And Jazz is playing well? Yes. Yo, what are they doing with these lines? Does anyone know? This makes no sense. And by the way, you can check the scoring average. We don't have to guess this, right? Scoring average for today was plus. Okay, well, that's incorrect. They don't have it up here on Data Golf. Well, let's try and figure it out. So for the guys that made the cut, it's looking like a lot of under par rounds. Not all under par rounds. It's looking like a lot of under par rounds. And the guys that went low went really low. And if I had to guess, let's see. It's fine. Let's just bring up the weather forecast. I have it up. Why can't I bring it up? Why can't I bring up the same thing we had before? Why did it go away? That's kind of annoying. Let's see if I can figure this out. Damn. All right, well, let's see. Let's just put this to the middle Saturday and just read it by hand, I guess. The course is somewhere over this way on yonder. Let's put it at like midday and see what we've got. In terms of wind gusts, it looks like it's like in the 14 to 15 mile an hour range. We're guesstimating it based on the fucking color here, so don't shoot me if I'm wrong there. And in terms of your regular like winds, it looks like 6 miles an hour. It looks like a teal, right? A teal looks like it's like 6 mile an hour winds. So this is towards midday. Let's look at the afternoon, right? It's actually even better in the afternoon. Okay, well, actually, that's 5 p.m. So let's look at like 7 a.m. So when they're starting, looks like the sustained winds are pretty low in the whole area, right? So like, who the fuck knows where this course is? I don't fucking know, to be frank with you. But the whole area is going to have relatively low winds tomorrow. So I feel pretty good about these unders. Like, I know this scoring average, it doesn't look like it was massively under par. I mean, like, no shit, the guys at the top of the board played well, obviously. But like most of these guys that made the cut at least shot under par. Like, you had guys that shot over par towards the bottom that made the cut, but they only shot like 2 over par. And they're probably like the fringe, even professional players that are on the DB World Tour. So I don't know. I might be taking some unders there. Let's see what we've got. Just joined, bro. Love it. Let's see. Yeah, you saw that on the Discord. I might. Just joined, bro. Yeah, hit me up for an invite to the Discord. Would love to have you there. They've got them at 69.5. Oh boy. But I have to say, Bet365 kind of slapdick. So you got to be a little bit careful on those. What are my thoughts on Rory? He looked damn good today, and his wedges weren't great. So he's kind of just like Rory, kind of what I expect, right? He's going to have good rounds. Hopefully tomorrow it's not so good a round. Posted the shots gained leaders for the tourney. Let's take a look. That is hella useful. So Yannick Paul's up there, of course, which you have to love. You got Jazz up there. Yeah, it's pretty close to the same as the leaderboard, I'd imagine. The issue I have with the later guys is it looked like the wind gusts were slightly higher, but it's probably not going to be all that worrisome, right? It was like 15 mile an hour wind gusts, which it's not going to blow them off the golf course. So yeah, we might be nuking a bunch of slips here together on the stream. What's the website for that tourney? That's just the European Tour site. Go to the stats category. It'll pull up the stats from the tournament. Let's do it. Why not? If I want to look at anything, strokes gained approach, probably number one, right? Let's see. Anyone that I know is on the board. I know who Juiced is. Well, how the fuck you say his name? I love my boy Juiced Loyton though. Molinari, maybe he's on the board. I know Catlin might be. Okay, I like these approach guys. I like Bjork, the Swedish guy, playing well. Becker's a volatile ass mofo, so I'm probably not going to play him. Pepperell's hitting well in approach. Okay, most of the guys that made the cut, right, played well in approach. Noted, right? Probably could have guessed that, but I guess it's good to know. Let's pick a few guys on here. I think ideally, I want like middle of the pack players at 71.5, right? So I want them at the inflated number, and I don't want them like in first place of this golf tournament. So let's find some like middle of the pack guys. All right, so Rosner would kind of qualify, but let's see. Can we bet on Lynn Grant? Lynn Grant is a woman, by the way. It's not a male player. Doesn't look like they don't have her on there. It's unfortunate. Underdog is sexist. You heard it now. Pepperell is playing towards the middle of the board. Let's see what's going on. Where's Eddie Pepperell? They have him at 72 strokes. Yes, please. We'll take that. All right, let's find another middle of the pack kind of guy. Loyton, that's right. He had hella good approach stats. They got to have my boy Juiced on here. They do. It's like my boy Juice World. Let's put him in there for 250, those two for unders. You got to be quick with these. We're going to go through these fast. Let's find more of these middle of the pack players. Okay, we're towards the bottom of the board now. I want guys that are playing decent. So I don't know if I want the super early tee times. Bjork. Is Bjork at 71.5? Be beautiful if he was. Oh, he's at 70.5. Those motherfuckers at Underdog are on to us. Unfortunate. Let's see. What else do we've got in terms of a leaderboard? I need guys that are teeing off like without pressure. That's the ideal situation here. So let's see. Rosner, is he 71.5? He is. Okay. And he was a wagon for round one. Came through for us. What did he shoot today? He shoot 2 under par today? Look at that. He's going to shoot under 70 or under 71 for 3 straight days. Sounds good to me. So let's throw him in there. I know Norton's like 70.5. So I don't fuck with that. Do they have Andy Sullivan on the board? It's my boy. He's a bigger guy like me. So I fucks with Sullivan. They don't have him on the board. Unfortunate. What about Sebastian Sodenborg? I didn't see where he was. He's probably towards the top of the board. They try and post guys that are in contention when they can. So I have to imagine that he probably is, especially because I don't know who the hell that guy is. Well, maybe not. Instead of guessing, we can do a little control F action. He's a -1, so he's actually in like the first couple tee times. He shot 72 today, so he would have gone over. He bogeyed a 2 par 5. Actually, sorry, only 1 par 5 in round 2. Only made 2 birdies. It's kind of shitty. How did he hit it on approach? I thought he was one of the guys who played decently on approach. Let's remind ourselves here, because if he did, maybe we forgive and forget and go after him. Where's Mr. Sonberg at? Number 79. Yeah, dog shit. Nope. Not playing him. Good thing we looked that up. That guy is dog shit with the irons and not happening. Let's see. I know you're talking DP, but what are your thoughts on Connors today and overall? I think he's going to run into a lot of pressure. I don't know if it's going to happen tomorrow. Probably not, right? It's still only Saturday. But Sunday, if Corey Connors is in contention, I'll likely be fading him because these Canadian guys have had a lot of trouble winning there for a reason. You've heard about some of the pressure that they've had, and that worries me. Yeah, I need to look at Lynn Grant. She won last year. She's very talented. So let's see what we've got. Pretty much the same projection. So if we want to take Juiced over here, we probably will. Did I enter that prop? I did not. Let's do that. So I want to take Jazz. I want to take. Where's Lynn Grant at? I thought we had Lynn Grant on here. I don't see her. So they take her off. There's Matt. Oh, there she is. 71 strokes. That feels a little bit more fair though, right? 71, but it's good. It's good that they have her up there, right? They're not a sexist site, I guess. But Juiced, I really like for tomorrow. So let's go ahead and throw those two in there. I like those two. Still like Rosner. Go ahead and throw him in there too. And Pepperell. Go ahead and make that happen as well. All right, we're posting them. We're doing them on both sites. We have Rosner over here. Let's find one more pairing, right? So Becker, I know, is going off relatively late. I still don't hate those guys. Like, they're playing well, right? They're probably going to shoot under par. Oh, boy. We're going to end up nuking the board, aren't we? Oh, they took Rosner off. Okay, that's unfortunate. Whatever. Did I take Pepper already? I did. Did I unplug my mic? I did not. Good. Oh, boy. They're going fast with these bumps right now, so now we got to be quick about it. Becker, I don't love for an under. Oh, they put Rosner back up. Who the hell knows what the fuck that was? Oh, the projection has changed. Is it even up anymore? No, it's not, is it? Lovely. Julian Brune. Where the hell's Brune at? Brune's a good player. He's normally one of the more consistent players on the DP World Tour. So if he's towards the middle of tee times, I love that. He's like early. Don't love it. I don't hate it. Where's Catlin at? Okay, no, that's not Catlin. He's in fourth place. Oof. That's some pressure involved. I don't know if I love investing into guys that have a lot of pressure going. Yeah, it sucks that they took freaking Rosner off as we're on here placing props. I mean, it's kind of a little buzzkill going, but let's see. Maybe they'll post them back here in a second. We already entered the Loin prop, right? Yeah, Loin and Pepperell are the only guys that we've used. The reason I asked that, guys, is I get limited at $250, so I can't even enter a new prop. Where is Southgate at? He's towards the middle of tee times. More importantly, how is Southgate hitting the ball on approach? That's the question. I know he's a decent pedigree guy when it comes to those guys on the DP World Tour. Let's see what we're working with, though. 7th on approach, book it. Sounds good. We found our pairing there. Go ahead and throw Jazz in there with Southgate and take a few unders. That's what we're looking at on DP. We're going to enter probably more after we get off stream. I can do a little bit more research. But let's see. Let's see if they posted a prize picks board over here for PGA. That would be fantastic. They have not. Okay. Well, we'll do a little bit more of a deeper dive in Underdog. Then we're going to hop out of here. So in terms of your Underdog props, right, we already entered a few at this point. But I'm going to do a few more deep dives on these guys at 4.5 birdies and probably enter a few overs here, right? We already had the Shane Lowry over that I liked, but I need somebody that's ball striking it well and at least isn't putting over their head, right? Isn't somebody who's just through the weekend because they had 4 or 5 strokes gained putting, right? Somebody like Shane Lowry has room to improve, whereas somebody that was gaining 4 or 5 strokes would have a lot of room to regress back to their mean. So I'm worried about that, but I am looking for players that can move themselves up the board. Honestly, at this point, like maybe some unders at 71 stick out. I'm going to have to do a little bit more deep diving. So I appreciate all the support here on the channel, guys. Go ahead, smash that like button if you haven't already. We'll be doing the same thing for round 4, but also for all 4 rounds at the US Open. So heading out there to LA Country Club on Tuesday. Going to be there a little bit early. Content will be dropping earlier this week for the US Open than most weeks. So keep an eye out for that. Going to be an absolute blast. It's a major. We just had the Live PGA merger happen. So of course there's all of that to look at. I'll try and get it in a few players' ears, get their opinions on the course. Also perhaps their opinions on the merger. I'll see what happens with that. And looking forward to just watching that tournament in person and then hopefully taking home a GPP in the process. So best of luck out there with your round 3 stuff. Take home some prop slips. Go out there, cash out for the DFS side, and let's get this cash, fellas.